Morning. It's John. Nice to see you again. So, I know that the first couple videos that I posted were a bit long. And I understand that since one of my target audiences is folks with ADHD, that 40-minute videos probably won't fly. Even though I think that I've got a lot to share, I know that the modern day attention span is limited, mine included. So I'm hoping for a bit of a shorter one today. And the message that I have to share is pretty clear. And this is something that I'm still struggling with myself. But if you are neurodivergent, and especially if you are both autistic and ADHD, you need to stop taking advice that isn't meant for you, that wasn't written with your brain in mind. Before I was diagnosed, I spent years and years and years reading self help books and going to therapy and doing all of these things to try and fix myself. But as time went on, I realized that it wasn't working. Maybe I would make some changes for a few weeks and things would go great, but inevitably things would always break down. I would fall off the wagon every time. And now that I am looking back and kind of reframing all of that personal development work that I was trying to do with this new lens of a diagnosis, I realized that the issue was that I was reading books that were targeted to allistic people and to people who are blessed with a neurotypical brain rather than a neurodivergent one. And don't get me wrong, I still do believe that being neurodivergent is more of a blessing than a curse, but it does provide some unique challenges. Because the thing is that when you have AuDHD, it's kind of like inside of you there are two wolves. One has ADHD, one has autism, right? And you not only have to please the aspect of you that wants novelty and spontaneity and change and excitement, you also have to please the side of you that wants routine and structure and familiarity. And those two needs often are at odds with each other, right? So the thing is that even if you are reading self-help books about ADHD or about autism, if you have both, those books still might not be the right answer, because what you need to do is find ways to work with both sides of your very different brain. So I find for myself, what has worked best over this past year has been something that I like to call organized chaos or scheduled chaos. Let me give you some examples. I have a pretty regular journaling practice, but rather than trying to keep one specific notebook, I have a variety. So I've got a stack of different journals of varying sizes, varying colors, varying paper, and I also have a variety of journals that are digital. I have some on my phone, I have some on the computer, and that way I can continue to track my life and chronicle the things that are important to me, but I don't feel pressured to stick to one method and one medium. I can shift things depending on my mood and my desire that day. So I'm catering to my ADHD need for novelty by having a bunch of different formats for journaling available. But my autistic side gets the routine and the repeated action of keeping a journal. And so far that's been working quite well for me. And that's essentially what I bring to pretty much every pursuit, whether it's personal, creative, or professional, is an element of organization and an element of chaos. So another big thing is on my calendar, I do a lot of time blocking now. So rather than going into my calendar and booking a specific task like reviewing flashcards, I love language learning. I'm currently trying to brush up on Japanese. So instead of putting into my calendar flashcarding, I'll put into my calendar language study. That way, when I sit down, I know that I've got a couple hours and I can do anything from watching a show in my target language to writing a journal in my target language to doing flashcards to watching YouTube lectures. There's so many options, and I'm still engaging with the activity that I want to be doing, but I'm giving myself the freedom to do it in a way that appeals to me that day, because my moods are very changeable. I'm not just neurodivergent, I'm also a Gemini, so very mercurial, I always imagine myself as like a little bumblebee bobbing from flower to flower. And that's kind of my days, is I'm just floating from one flower to another constantly, looking for some sweet, sweet nectar. And I want the flower slash activity that is going to give me the sweetest dose that I can get. So I know that this might sound simple. I know that this might sound straightforward. And if this is something that you're already doing, great. But if you're somebody that is still, reading the top 10 self-help books like, I don't know, Atomic Habits or the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and you're not getting the results that you want, it might be because you need a different approach. What I'm learning is that I think that I've always known what I need. I've always known that the standard method of doing things doesn't work for me. I knew it in school. I knew it from quite a young age, but before my diagnosis, I think I always felt pressured to try and mask and to make myself fit, to make myself, it's like a square peg in a round hole kind of thing. Like I felt like I needed to chop off my corners so that I could fit neatly into the systems that are most prominent in the world. And what I'm learning is that all I need to do is listen to myself and trust that I know what is best for myself. And 9 times out of 10, it works if I just honor that. And I know that from the outside, a system like scheduled chaos or organized chaos might sound like it wastes time, but I think that it's actually a lot more efficient, because so much of my time before was wasted beating myself up and shaming myself for not following the rules that everyone else was. So now that I've freed up that mental space and I've freed up that time and I'm no longer wasting my days beating myself up, I get a lot more done. I guess on that note too, something I have learned about my neurodivergent brain is that it is very rare that I am able to keep a consistent rhythm of work all through the year. I think that a lot of neurodivergent folks can relate to the fact that we work best in like really intense bursts, but then we need a period of rest and recovery and play and creativity to kind of recharge our brains afterwards. And maybe that's not even a neurodivergent thing. I think that's just a human thing. But we live in a world that expects you to show up to your 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, all through the year. And I think that we need to be honest about the fact that that doesn't work for us as well. So rather than shaming yourself about not being able to hold a consistent level of productivity all through the year, trust that a period of rest and of relaxation and of non-production is usually going to be followed by an intense burst of creation. And in that intense burst of creation, you're probably going to complete more than the average person would. I am able to pound out papers and courses and videos and all of these things in a very short time because of hyperfocus, but that isn't sustainable all year. So I've learned to be kind to myself and truly listen and know that it's cyclical. So if you can take just a couple things from this video today, it is, don't try and fit the mold that is being presented by the top selling self-help books and self-help videos out there. Give yourself the freedom to figure out what is right for you through trial and error, and do your best to just keep track of what's working and what's not. Be honest about your capacity and try to get advice from people who are in the same situation as you. If you need some support, I'm here for you in the comments. Good luck on your journey of self-development. Also, this might be a good time for you guys to meet my adorable kitty, Smudge. She is attached to me today, so if you hear purring in the background, we have a little friend with us today. We can consider her the channel mascot. She's not the only furball that I've got in the house, but she's definitely the most clingy, so I'm sure you'll be seeing a lot of her.